Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, friends, from wherever you may be tuning in, whichever part of the world. It seems we have a lot of listeners from the Australia area, New Zealand, and even new listeners from France. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody and welcome you and thank you. And I do want to open with a prayer of protection over the innocents this night, this holy wicked night, for the spiritual forces of darkness, the powers and principalities that are out doing ritual and seeking to celebrate their connections to their fallen angel brethren and bloodline, and so I pray that the innocents be spared of wickedness and evil, and Lord, protect everybody from any kind of ritual sacrifice or any kind of bloodletting ritual, any kind of Luciferian satanic ritual of injury or harm, that anything that should have to face such circumstances be spared from such a fate and from having to undergo such an experience. And so, because we know that this is one of the holy days for the Luciferians, and they've got it so indoctrinated and so concealed, so veiled, and so tied into culture and society that our children, our American children, celebrate this pagan ritual as Halloween and go out every night to trick or treat, to get their candy, and to, dress up in their little costumes or uniforms, whatever it is that, they choose to dress up as. And it's all fun and games, but people have no idea that they're participating in something that is darkly and ritually evil for this country, the nation, and the world. But they've done that with a lot of the holy days and a lot of the festivals and a lot of what are even Christian holidays. And our friend Mrs. Sparks at fallenangels.tv has done a series of articles over the past couple of days, past week, where she's addressed not only Halloween, but the upcoming traditions of Christmas. She probably will even do something on Easter, I don't know. But do look into that information if you're not familiar with the pagan aspects of what are Christian high and holy days. And also what are just obvious days of celebration here in America and worldwide. And so just be wary of what you participate in and what you celebrate for yourself, because we are held accountable for all things. All things. Tonight I'm going to talk about the release of Sons of God and let you know how it is that you can get the book for yourself, because it is now available. And look at that, we even beat the November deadline. Praise God. And so give all gratitude and all glory and all honor and praise to the Father and the Son. My only wish is that this book help you to come to remembrance on who you are, why you're here, what all this is about, and how it is that you can strengthen and unify your walk and your relationship with the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit in such a way that they can utilize you, that you can humble yourself before them, and that they can utilize you as a vehicle for greater things, greater purposes, and an unbelievable and unimaginable fate and destiny, because the Father has such grand things laid out for all of us if we could just learn to get ourselves out of the way. And so before I do that, I'm going to post a link into the chat room as to, hey Michael, as to where you can go to get the book for yourself. And I want to also apologize because I had accidentally listed this show previously, and it was to occur at 5 o'clock. And I do my Wednesday evening shows at 9 p.m., so if you did come to tune in and listen to that show, I apologize. I had my times mixed up because I alternate Saturday on the Sabbath. I do a show at 5 p.m., and then on Wednesday I do a show at 9 p.m. But the book is now available. I'm going to go through a little bit of it as far as the index, introduce you to the chapters, and speak about it so that you can familiarize familiarize yourself with its contents and what it will be speaking on. And I also have to say this about this particular work. Even though this next book, The Sons of God, it covers quite a bit of information and history and goes back even to the very beginning. That's actually where I start my fourth book, Lucifer, Father of Cain. But this book does not focus completely on the issues of pre-existence, incarnation, and reincarnation. Even though that is a major theme and a major topic, it's not the focus of this particular book. That book is the one that I am writing now. And so I will have that information out as soon as possible, and I will get it into book form as soon as possible, because I know that so many of you are interested in those topics and are looking for those scriptures and for that work to be compiled in one place so that you can go and look it up for yourself, discern it for yourself, and take it before the Lord in prayer. And so I'm working on that now. I'm working on several things, as a matter of fact. But the Sons of God, going through a few of the chapters, just so you know a little bit more about the details of the book. And then I'll actually read a little bit from it. But anyways, the table of contents, the foreword was written by our brother John the Baptist from tribulation-now.org, and I believe it is part of one of his works, one of his articles in his journey to remembrance. And it speaks about, our relationship and how we came to be confirmation for each other on some of these strange and esoteric truths. And so John writes the foreword. I wrote the introduction, which, talks about why it is that I separated this whole piece of work off from my fourth book, because this used to be combined with my fourth book, Lucifer, Father of Cain, but it would have been too much, and so I had to splinter it off. And plus I wanted to separate this topic and this particular issue, this work, from the controversy that is surrounded and contained by Lucifer, Father of Cain, which again, why there's so much contention over that issue and that one particular topic is beyond me, but that's the reality of it. And so I knew that in order for me to really present this separate, that I needed to splinter it off, and so that's what I did. And so this book was actually, written earlier, but it's just now coming to light for release. And then in the third part of the book, I go into what is the timeline for creation. And this, I think, is a very important piece of information for people, because it will help you to understand what is being spoken of in Genesis and will help you to get the details of what is unfolding in, with the creation being destroyed and being recreated, and how it was good but then was destroyed. I'm going to talk about all those things, talk about how it is that the Elohim came to be involved with this solar system, this planet, the Anunnaki, the fallen angels. I'm going to tie all these old mythologies, creation tales, epic tales together with the Genesis account so that you can understand what is being spoken about in those ancient dialogues. And then I go into setting up the premise of the three world ages and the three atoms of light. And I talk about Yahushua, the light of the world, and his crowning dominion, which happened on the separation of light and darkness, the second day. And I talk about the word heaven because it's important for you to understand that we had part to play in the unfolding of those early days, and we had spiritual lives prior to our incarnation in the flesh and our election for what is the second world age, and how it is that we have these personalities, identities, but that we have this dual nature. In the flesh, we have a dual nature where we're being taught through the knowledge of good and evil. And we're being open to the spectrum of, the full spectrum of pain and pleasure. And here we're learning a lot of things that we've never had chance to know before, just because this is a dual-natured realm. And so I talk about our fall into flesh, our loss of our first estate, and also, the rebel angels, the fallen watchers, their rebellion, all that, how all that ties into the seduction of Adam and Eve, why they were created, put into paradise, why it was that Lucifer chose to seduce them, cause them to fall, how the Lord had foreseen and foresaw all of this, and how he would send his own son, Christ, Yahushua, would come into the flesh to redeem all of us, an example to us that they are the authorities of life and death, and that they can give salvation to whom they so choose and so desire. And that was the whole reason also for the particularities of genealogy and the specifics that were written down by the various apostles and the various patriarchs from Adam all the way to the time of Christ. That lineage was preserved because they were showing and verifying that there were two different bloodlines, and that these two different bloodlines are dedicated to servicing the creation in two different ways. And one, we have the sons of darkness, and then you have the sons of light, the sons of the law, the sons of order, the sons of Belial, and that there's an enmity between these two seed lines. And that enmity stemmed and preceded even before Adam and Eve's creation, and even before Eve's seduction by the serpent, her impregnation with Cain. And so all that is spoken about in these earlier chapters. Then I go into the sons of God, who we are part of that story and of that collective tale. Then I talk about the separation and the fall of the dragon lords. And the dragon lords are the Nakash, the seraphim angels that rebelled. And Lucifer, who became Satan, the adversary, Satan now, who drugged 1/3 of the stars of Yahweh Elohim, with him. Then I talk about the battle, what became the war in heaven, and also what was the celestial battle, the actual battle between Tiamat and the Lord of Hosts, which was a celestial battle that took place in the solar system, and is the pivotal story for the Babylonian and Akkadian creation tales, the Enuma Elish. That what is being described in there with the separation of the waters and the separation of the firmament are the actual early formations of this solar system and the destruction of what was Tiamat, a watery planet that used to be where the asteroid belt is now. And in that it was the capture of another planet called Nibiru, or Planet X, or the Destroyer, that this interloper planet became part of this solar system, and that its early interaction caused the destruction of Tiamat when one of its moons split Tiamat in half, and that this planet eventually became what is the Earth now. And that it was that early cataclysmic destruction and the early settling of the solar system into what are the current current configuration and orbital trajectories, that all this occurred with this war that happened so long ago. And so once you understand how it was that all unfolded and took place, then you'll understand how it was that this Earth became the focus and the center of what became the possibility and multiplication of life in the solar system, and also why it was targeted for its gold, and how it was that the Anunnaki came here to establish what would be the first base, Eridu, home in the far away, a long, long time ago. According to the text, it was 120 shars, or some 439,000 years ago, is when the Sumerians say that Eridu was established as a colony. And so I talk about that, I bring all that information out, and then I talk about the pre-Adamic Earth and the primitive worker and the interdiction of the fallen angels, the Elohim, with the primitive worker. I talk about what the forbidden fruit was, how it is that we ended up on this prison planet, how it is that we ended up being in the flesh, how our ancestors ended up being here. Then I talk about the second world age, our entrance into the flesh, incarnation, drinking from the cup of forgetfulness. And then also, once we were on this planet, I speak about the fulfillment of Genesis chapter 3, which for those that don't know, the fall which led to the incarnation of flesh, that transformation did not happen until after the day of rest, after the Sabbath, that Adam and Eve were allowed to enjoy their immortal bright natures until the eighth day when they were placed on the wilderness of the earth. And that this tale, which is contained within the first and second books of Adam and Eve and the forgotten books of the Bible, the forbidden books of Eden, in this collection of work, it speaks about their body's transformation from their bright-natured status to that of being in flesh form. And all the different things that took place which they were unaccustomed to. The feel of the sun, the 12 hours a day, the 12 hours at night, their first experience of darkness, the first desire and thirst for water, their first hunger for food, how their bodies acquired digestive systems, how even they were unaccustomed to walking when the Lord forced them out of paradise, and how the whole process of taking steps seemed foreign to them. And so all this information is important for you to understand how it is we came to be here. And then I go into great detail in the last half of the book on the Nag Hammadi codices and the different Dead Sea Scrolls collections, the different extra-biblical books, because in the first half of the book, I established the premise for this work according to the foundation of the Old and the New Testament. I lay it there, build the foundation, the premise for it, and then add all the other details to fill in the rest of the story so that you can understand what is being spoken of. And there's not even a lot of books which, bring forth the Nag Hammadi collection, but there's not many at all that have, in my opinion, a correct interpretation on them. It's also my opinion that most of the so-called experts on Gnosticism are in fact disinformation agents, candidates that are purposely trying to keep people from studying or even perusing into these books. You know, I have so many people that argue with me and contend with me over the validity of certain scriptures, whichever ones it may be, Nag Hammadi Codices, the Apocrypha, the pseudepigraphal books, the Colburn Bible, whatever it is that I bring forth, the books of Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees, you know, and they will argue with me on the validity, and yet for a lot of them, they never have even read the text. And so they'll spend all this time, you know, arguing in judgment over these texts, but never have even read the books themselves. And for me, it just does not make any sense on how somebody can judge a text without ever having read it. That doesn't make sense to me, anyways. And so, in the last half of this book, The Sons of God, Who We Are While We're Here, I go into the reality of the rulers. I talk about the flying, fiery serpents, the Nakash of Genesis chapter 3. I bring out all of the mythologies, all of the historical and ancient traditions, the biblical accountings of this serpent, interdimensional, shape-shifting Nakash. There's no other way around it. These feathered serpent beings that have, through every era of history and through every culture worldwide, brought knowledge and teachings and culture in return of worship and obedience and praise, and later demand for ritual blood and sacrifice. And so I discuss all that as well. And then I talk about, near the end of the book as well, because I want you to know what you're going to be reading into. I talk about how it is that Christ plays into the plan of redemption, what salvation is all about, what the harvest is all about, how it is that is the fulfillment, the culmination, the climax of the war in heaven, and also the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. And how that would be the fulfillment of the Second World Age and would be our entrance into what would be the Third World Age, and reigning, ruling, and judging with Christ and serving Him in the Morning Star administration in whatever capacity that He would have us fulfill our angelic duties and our return to our first estate. Because we will then have graduated to such degree that we can be entrusted, like the servants that were entrusted with certain job and with doing certain thing for the homeowner while he was away. That those who can be entrusted and do good for the Father and serve Him in whatever capacity it is He would have us serve Him in. That whatever we open ourselves to fulfill as role for Him, that He will utilize us. He will do miracle things through each one of us if we will just allow it to be so. Because each one of us has that capacity. Each one of us has that miracle possibility within us. Each child of God, each son of God, each child of the light has incredible capacity to bring beautiful change to the world in any second of any moment of any day. And that this also works in the other capacity with those who are dedicated to evil and to causing ruin and to sabotaging the future and creating destruction and chaos and just murder, rape, and pillage, who want to bring evil into the world, that are dedicated to Satan and the New World Order and the forces of tyranny and chaos, to the Nakash, the eye at the top of the Illuminati pyramid, the demons, the powers, the principalities, the legion, that they have great capacity to do incredible harm and to spread negativity through the world in great capacity as well. I mean, just look at how it was that the events of 9/11 affected each one of us, and how those memories are singed and burned to our soul, that they've been implanted and burnt onto the so that we can bring up those memories at any time and remember exactly how it was we felt during that time, that pain, that misery, that hurt, that fear, that uncertainty, that not knowing whether you could trust government or what was going to happen next. Because that's the kind of world that the Illuminati love. That's the kind of world they want to control. They want to keep us on our edges of our seat and on the edges of our toes so that we jump at everything. We're scared at everything. That the boogeyman is at every corner, and we need government and security forces and the police and the military to protect us, to keep us safe. All right, just a couple more chapters talking about the last aspects of the book. The Fallen Archon. Many of you are just now becoming aware of who the Archons are, who they're being spoken of, in the Nag Hammadi Codices, and that these particular beings are cited specifically as being those powers that are warring against the seed of humanity, and that they are cited specifically in their mutual impartations to mutual pact to lead astray humanity and to cause murder, rape, pillage, and plunder, to not leave any of the sons of humanity to receive or inherit the rewards in heaven. The first estate that they so long ago abandoned themselves and are being judged for now. Also, I wanted to make one other announcement for those that are also interested in my previous work. I have ordered some copies of my fourth and my fifth book, and that I will be making available package deals for my third, fourth, fifth, and sixth book all bundled together. And I'll be glad to autograph all of them as well. And that I will announce when I have all these together how much that would be and where you can get them and how to make them available. For those that are interested in purchasing Sons of God that would like an autographed copy, because I'm going to autograph the first 100 copies and make them available to the public. If you would like an immediate copy, because I know many of you have been waiting for a long time and are really wanting this information like yesterday. And so for those of you that can't wait, there are PDFs available through TatePublishing.com and that particular website. And you can go to the main page at fallenangels.tv. That the main blog there, the featured blog there, is about how you can order these PDFs. Again, if you're seeking immediate gratification or if you need the information now, you can get PDF copies through Tate right now. Or if you are seeking autographed copies and you would like to get autographed copies from me, then you can either send me a check to my address, which is listed also on that particular blog, or you can pay me through PayPal, which my PayPal address is the same as my email, and that is Zen Garcia, ZenGarcia 2010 at gmail.com. And that if you send me an email and ask me to, autograph a copy, you can tell me who to autograph it to. And if you would like to order multiple copies, that's fine as well. I'll be glad to sign multiple people. I appreciate everybody's interest. I am receiving a lot of orders and have been answering a lot of emails over the past couple of days. And that's why it's an honor to meet all of you and to have you contact me from all over the world. So it's nice to know that we are reaching such a wide area and that people from all over the world are being blessed by our work, and for that I am exceptionally grateful. And so you can go to the main site at fallenangels.tv and you'll see that blog post. But for those that are interested in my fourth book that have not read any of my books or not have purchased before any of my books, Lulu.com, which published my fourth and my fifth book. My fourth book is Lucifer, Father of Cain. My fifth book is Awaken to the New World Order. And both of those books are available right now at a 20% discount. That if you go to lulu.com, LULU.com, and search for my name, Zen Garcia, or search for Lucifer, Father of Cain, or Awaken to the New World Order, that no matter how many books it is that you choose to want to buy, whether it's just 1 or 2 or 10, that if you just type into the coupon code Brain Food, all capitals, Brain Food, BRAINFOOD, that this code will work for today and tomorrow, November 1st. And that after 12 p.m. November 1st, it will no longer work. So this is a good chance for you to get some of my previous works at 20% discount, which is pretty good. And I thought, it was a nice promotion that they were doing right here before the holidays. And so I did want to make that information available to you. So again, that is lulu.com, LULU.com. Just find the books, and this works for any books that are there. You can search for all of the different authors and different books, but this will get you 20% off the total purchase. And you just type in the coupon code Brain Food, all capitals, BRAINFOOD, Brain Food. All right. Also wanted to let you know that TatePublishing.com it has the official release date for my book as cited as being January 29th, 2013. And that on that day, hard copies will be made available to most of the major bookstores across the country, and that all of the web portals, all the links, all of them will be prepared and stocked and ready to sell these books to you wherever you may be. And so I'm grateful to the Father and to the Son that this information is going to be widely available to a lot of people. And I just pray that it helps you to come to remembrance on who you are, what all this is about, and why it's important for us to wake up in this day and age. With us being the fig tree generation, the last generation, it's important that we are awake and aware to recognize the signs of the season. Because things are seemingly accelerating and happening in quicker fashion and quicker form. Now, also, I do want to announce one other thing. I am working as I can on putting together the audio book for Lucifer, Father of Cain. And so I'll make that available as soon as I can as well. All right, let's go ahead because we're going to run out of time. I'm going to go through a little bit more of what is the contents of this book. I'm going to read a little bit of the introduction just to give you an idea for how it is that I ended up writing this work. I've been asked by many readers, listeners, and viewers to provide resources for why I believe we are the sons of God who were once part of the Elohim that served in the celestial morning star council of Yahweh Yahushua's administration prior to this incarnation as modern-day human beings. To help establish this premise and unravel the paradigm which, in my opinion, is the most incredibly profound tale that one could ever imagine possible, a story which will retrace the fall and elevation of humanity from paradise to the earth in explaining who we truly are, why we are here, and what this life is really all about. Hopefully, once conveyed, this book will help one comprehend the profound nature of who we are so that all of us can then awaken to remembrance of self that affects world in positivity. I believe the whole reason why the Lord aspired us to know self is because this revelation can explain for those who embrace it why we are here as fallen angels trapped in the armor of flesh on a prison planet overrun by devils and demons. Unless one awakens to who you are, why we are here, one would not understand why the Lord had to come into the flesh to redeem us from body, strange vessel of soul, as we live out one lifetime in the immortal journey of spirit. Because of the controversial nature of my previous works, I decided in 2010 to splinter this information off from the book that I was then publishing, Lucifer, Father of Cain. I did not want this information tainted by the focus of that book, as the title alone has solicited what I feel undeserved condemnation. And so I held it back for publication at a later date. I still do not feel that many people will be able to understand the profound nature of this revelation and that I will probably be much aligned for it. Yet I have decided to go ahead with its release, due to the lateness of the hour. Many people consider my work contentious simply because I quote extensively from a wide variety of sources, which include the Nag Hammadi codices, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apocryphal, Pseudepigraphal, the Sumerian, Babylonian, Masonic, Satanic, Luciferian, Egyptian, Celtic, Mayan, as well as Old and New Testament and extra-biblical sources. The reason I provide such extensive citation is so the reader can verify for him or herself the sources used in tying and piecing together the story that I will unfold here. When it comes to truth, do not trust any mortal opinion. The preachers, the bully pulpit, the doublespeak politicians, or the talking bobbleheads on TV. We must individually do one's own research when determining truth as far as one's worldview. For how can anyone judge anything without having first investigated the relevancy of its message or the profoundness of its content? Doubt everything brought before you. Believe nothing. Do one's own homework and know truth. During the course of this book, I will bring forth many quotations from the biblical canon which, unless explained this way, cannot make sense in paradigm that unifies the totality of Scripture with what is available to us as worldly history, mythology, religion, and fantasy. This knowledge can unify all the aspects of what would seem to be individualized and disparate pieces of unconnected truth in presenting a cohesive pattern which ties together creature, creation, and creator. Books, like people, should not be judged based on cover alone. It's my contention that should one be able to suspend one's belief system and embrace the possibilities of this book, that it has the potential to help one wake up to the remembrance of who you are, why we are here, and what this world is all about. I realize also that probably not many will be ready for this information, and that only a few will get it. And yet I believe the world is now ripe for the release of this knowledge. My hope is that many of you will find long sought for secrets within these pages, knowledge which will confirm those things that I have been stating for years. In my radio work and on the Fallen Angels TV website, the Father has testified in His Word as to the desperate nature of the times we will be living in at the end of days, and that unless the days were shortened, there should be no flesh left. And though no man knows the day or the hour, we are called as children of the light to recognize the signs of the season. This teaching on the sons of God, along with the revelation of the three Adams and the three world ages, is, in my opinion, essential for understanding whom Yahushua, our Savior, Messiah, was, is, and will be. As the light of creation, the Word, and the only begotten Son of Yahweh, Elohim, the Father of us all, it was necessary for Him to come into the flesh on a DNA rescue mission to save us as fallen angels condemned to die the death of humanity. I will explain our condemnation, how it stemmed from the eating of the forbidden fruit, what that fruit was and how it led to original sin, and why we are in a fallen state of being we now find ourselves in. Woven into the explanation of this story is why Lucifer was banished from the heaven and why he decided to rebel initially. I will also tie into this magnificent tale such cryptic and esoteric issues as pre-existence, incarnation, salvation, harvest, and judgment. I will summarize within these pages the fullness of our Father's plan for creation and how His Son, as the first Adam, would come later into flesh to defeat death and show by example that He is the author of eternal life and the way to escape all those things prophesied to occur to the earth, which according to the Word will make men's hearts fail them. Just a little bit more of the introduction. I will also cover in detail the separate creations of the Genesis 1, verse 26, Elohim molded primitive worker. 2, the Holy Trinity formed Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, 6-day spirit-endowed hermaphroditic creation of civilized man, who we know as Adam of Paradise, who, having fallen, was transformed into flesh on the 8th day. One must make sense of the 3 world ages and the 3 creations of Adam to understand our current world condition. The third Adam was elevated once he and Eve lost their bright natures and, having fallen to this prison planet, found themselves surrounded by demons and devils bent on persecuting and oppressing themselves and their offspring. Most have never heard about the elevation of Adam and Eve once they were in a fallen state, and yet this teaching too is vital for opening up secrets hidden within the contents of not only the Bible, but all of the other ancient and mostly forgotten books of wisdom, religion, and mythology. Last couple minutes here. Over the years, I've spoken about these things in many books and recorded many radio shows to expand upon the principles that the Lord has led me to in discerning truth. I believe that this book is the culmination of my plight to remember who I am in playing out my part in the grander scheme of creation, which is life. Everything I have learned, I have attempted to present to you in a way that is cohesive and easily understood. And I know that many things I expound upon are very contentious, indeed, and that many will outright reject and probably never, ever, indeed, even look into the things that I will be writing about here. Yet, I also know that there are those out there that, like myself, must glean truth through the experience of one's own introspection and imaginative contemplation. It is my intent that this information only further strengthen and confirm one's faith in our Lord, Yahushua, Savior, Messiah. With that singular goal in mind, I present this interpretation on the works of the myriad apostles, prophets, historians, and traditions with hopes that it only further verifies for you the veracity of the Old and the New Testaments as books of law for a way of life. Also note that I do not read or study books written by others about gnosis or the interpretation of it. I simply utilize my own discernment in bringing forward the information found here. And like my other books, I ask you to believe nothing I bring forth, but to do your own homework for further expounding upon these things that I have taught for years on my website and through my video and radio work. Last paragraph. I ask you to go forward in your own relationship with the Most High and ask the Lord to confirm whether the things presented here are true or not for you. I am not worthy to judge, and I certainly am no authority in telling others what they should and should not read or believe in. It's my opinion that in uncovering wisdom, we must exhaust every avenue of study in trying to put together the puzzles of truth underlying all belief systems everywhere. That was written by me July 28, 2011. And that's the introduction for Sons of God, who we are, why we are here. Again, for those that would like to order autographed copies, you can contact me directly at Zengarcia, Zengarcia 2010 at gmail.com, and I will send you information on how to make payment as far as by check or by PayPal, and we'll discuss with you bundling if you're interested in more than just the newest copy. I give thanks to all of you, and I appreciate the fellowship. I appreciate the kindness, for all the wonderful, incredible questions, and for just allowing yourself to listen, to open yourself to the possibilities of those things that I've been saying. And again, don't believe me or anybody else. Go out and do your own homework. Verify these things for yourself. Prove these things for yourself. You cannot believe anybody out there. Don't trust anybody, because there's too many that are getting paid to lie on purpose, and there's too many that are just plain wayward and lost. So it's the blind leading the blind out there, so just be careful. Take it to the Father and the Son. They are the truth and the final arbiter on all this anyways. God bless all. Till Saturday. In Yahushua Yahweh's name.
What exactly would you say if your child looked up at you and asked you about God and if He exists and if He's true, and wondered what would happen when someone dies? Is there a heaven? And what about that man up on the cross? Am I forgiven? How exactly would you answer those hopeful little lies when you're college educated and convinced it's all a lie? Sure, you went to Sunday school when you were young, but that was then. You're above those simple thoughts now. The only God you know is man. Are you saddened and ashamed to tell this little soul that you don't believe in anything and have no reason and no hope? There's no heaven and no meaning. There's no purpose to our lives. Did you believe we're just evolved, random mutations come alive? You know better than an insect, son, and when you die, that's it. I've learned through education that good and bad just don't exist. It's all just evolution. It's survival of the fittest. And we can get you a prescription when your life becomes depressed. I'm sorry that I've crumbled all your hopes and all your dreams, but it's time you realize that life's not what it seems. Are you lost? Are you alone? Are you convinced that life does not make sense? Have you forgotten that God even exists? Have you replaced all that was real for a life of cannabis and created your own truth? A happy atheist. Are you lost? Are you alone? Are you convinced that life does not make sense? Have you forgotten that God even exists? Have you replaced all that was real for a life of cannabis? of God's grace within his mind has been diminished, because the answers that you gave him took a piece of his existence, and the power of your words were unforeseen. And in that very moment you destroyed the very purpose of his being. And now he's lost, he's alone, and he's convinced that life does not make sense, and he's forgotten that God even exists. He's replaced all that was real for a life of counterfeits and created his own truth.